Well, as the city clock here in Norwich strikes 1 o'clock today, a warm welcome to the church, St Peter Mancroft here, where I'm the vicar. My name's Edward Carter, and a welcome, as every week, to our reflection, our live-streamed reflection from the church. They happen every Wednesday at 1 o'clock. If you're visiting the building, enjoying looking around as a visitor, please do carry on. The reflection will carry on in the background. But today we begin the first of a series of 5 reflections as part of our Lent group, which I'm delighted that we're combining with our near neighbours and dear friends, St Stephen's Church. Madeline, it's lovely to see you here today, and with so many from St Stephen's as well. And we'll be meeting after the reflection down in the Octagon Room, so we can make our way safely down there after these few thoughts from me. But the theme of our Lent course this year is a simple one word: sanctuary. And I hope you have the booklet for the course. There are some at the back if you need an extra one. Sanctuary, it's a lovely word, an appealing word to me anyway. It's one of those words that, if you reflect on it, connects people with places. There are other words that do that, but sanctuary is a particular word that does that very powerfully, I would argue. And the suggestion is, when we speak of these ideas that connect people with places, is that places are not just merely backdrops to our human lives. It's always very tempting for us as human beings to put ourselves at the heart of everything and to assume everything revolves around us. That's, I suppose, natural. And therefore to assume that the background, the places where we live our lives, really are just, there, but of incidental importance. I remember once, to illustrate this, I remember as a young adult, I was lucky enough to go around Europe on the trains. And me and my travelling companion had made it to Rome, full of amazing buildings. And we went to the Colosseum, one of the biggest of the lot. And we were just bowled over, and we were just looking around this extraordinary old building, soaking it in. And then suddenly up raced a coach full of people, tourists. And they all jumped out, and they lined up. And someone rushed up with a little board that said Rome, whatever the date was, and a whole row of cameras there. They'd all given their cameras to the tour guide, who took 10 photos, or 20 probably. And then they were all given their cameras back, and they jumped back on the coach, and off they went. The Colosseum was nothing but a backdrop to their all-important tour around. I dare say I'm being unfair to them. I'm sure they had a tremendous tour of Europe, or certainly Italy. But it did remind me that it's tempting to see places as just a backdrop, but that we shouldn't actually do that. Places do have a deep impact on us, I would contend. And it's the other way around. We, as human beings, certainly have a deep impact on places, we might say, for better or for worse. Therefore, we talk, do we not, about favourite places. Places where we feel at home, places which draw us back time and time again. So many of us, even when we're planning a holiday, we go back to our favourite place, perhaps year after year. Or if we just we need a peaceful, quiet day, we go to that place which draws us back again. Literally a place of sanctuary, a safe place for us. That feels instinctively true to me. Perhaps it resonates with you as well in a general sense. But for me, of course, as a Christian as well, I think I feel strongly that there's something spiritual going on also. Certainly in spiritual terms, like the coachload of tourists, it's tempting to think of kind of me. It's all about me. It's all about looking after number one. Things revolve around me, and when I talk about the spiritual side, again, it's really all about me and where I stand with God. But the truth is that Jesus Christ points us to something altogether bigger. We know that the Christian faith teaches that God is with us in Christ, and by us, not just meaning me and even us as a human race, but God here on earth in Christ. God who came from heaven to earth. God so loved the world. It doesn't say in John's Gospel, God so loved the human beings. It says God so loved the world. A big picture teaching is what the Christian faith points to. The Lord's Prayer, Jesus was asked, teach us to pray, thy kingdom come on earth as it is in heaven. That link between heaven and earth, between those two places, really powerful and right at the heart of the Christian faith. And there is that belief, therefore, that God in Jesus Christ blesses creation, sanctifies creation and all the places within creation. It's a kind of echo of Genesis chapter 1, those early verses from the Bible. And they culminate in that expression. God looked at all that he has made and saw that it was very good. And that's what the Christian faith points us to. God with us in Christ, blessing this world. But, there is a but. Because as we look out into the world, as we read our newspapers, turn on our radios, watch our television sets, we know that the world is not always a good place. It's a world that's full of dangers, tragedies, both natural, but actually often human-made, of course, as well. It's a world full of bad things, evil things. And the truth is that the Christian faith is very realistic about this. The Christian faith isn't blind to the way in which the world has fallen away from God. The pain and the suffering in Christian eyes is very real, even though it's God's world. But Christians, therefore, look in hope. They don't despair. They look in hope towards God's promises revealed in Christ. The promises that God is with us in Christ, blessing this world, blessing all that is in it. And that sense of hope is right at the heart of the Christian faith, really important thing. It holds together that sense of goodness and blessing with the knowledge that often the world is full of suffering and pain as well. And one way of holding all this together, to, as it were, see this, the world in this way, there are, of course, many ways of talking about this, but one way of describing all of this is to look for places of sanctuary and to celebrate places of sanctuary, places of blessing and goodness in a world that is often a very troubled world. And so that's what our Lent course will be exploring over the 5 sessions that we have set out before us in the course booklet. And for those of us here in the church, the moment has come, I think, for us to head downstairs and gather and see what we can learn from one another and from God as we explore the material. If you've been listening online or perhaps just here in the church, then I hope you've enjoyed my few thoughts about, introductory thoughts about the theme of sanctuary. So for all who are staying, do please head down the steps here, or if you need level access, then out of the south door and down the side of the church. We've brewed up some coffee, so come and find some refreshment and we'll sit together for our session. Thank you all for listening. And in 1 week's time, next Wednesday, there'll be another reflection and another meeting of the group. Thank you very much indeed.